Good evening, everybody out there. Welcome to another episode of The Fifth. I'm so glad that you can join me tonight. It is Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. And tonight, I have a special guest that will be joining us tonight. As we began chatting and talking, we realized that we had so much in common. So I've been so excited for him to join me on the show. So I want to present to you as you're watching, author and speaker, Mr. Hugo. Thank you so much for being here with me this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes. How have you been? How have you been since we last spoke?
I've been excellent, always growing every day and just excited to be alive as usual.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the people because I don't want to do you injustice. I want you to introduce and tell them who you are, this man of power. Tell them who you are.
Well, I think I'm going to do myself injustice because I'm pretty simple. I'm pretty simple. I go by Hugo. I'm from the Virgin Islands and I'm full of life.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that. So you guys heard him say that he's from the Virgin Islands. If you don't know, and those of you that do know me, I am also from the Virgin Islands. So this is something that we found out as we were speaking to each other and we started talking about Hurricane Hugo and he's like, "Wait a minute." And then we just started connecting the dots. So it's been a really nice collaboration for me to get to know Hugo. So tonight we're just going to have a conversation. We're just going to flow. Hugo is, like I said, we have a lot in common. My podcast is about empowering and uplifting people. And as I said, he is an author and he is a speaker, right? And him and I are looking at the same trajectories. Like life is meant to be lived, but it's the choices that you make that allows you to live the life the way that you want to and the positivity that you find, right? So I'm going to let him just jump into a little bit of what he does and how he collaborates with people or how he supports people, how he mentors people, and then we'll start the conversation from there. So take it however you want to go.
Definitely. So, as she mentioned, I'm an author and speaker, and I own a nonprofit called Forever Becoming Youth. And so my work is basically centered around helping people find themselves, find their voice inside. Because at the end of the day, you know, life is as hard as it is, and it's especially harder if we get no fulfillment out of it as individuals. And I embarked on a journey myself over the course of the past couple years of living my truth and becoming the human that I wanted to be. And you know a lot of us are afraid of that because of societal pressures and a lot of different obstacles that might come in our way, like just not knowing, not having fathers, not having mothers in our lives, not having good people around to teach us these things. But so I love what I do, helping people, just find themselves because as I
Yeah,
look, I can't find anything else that's worth doing in this world. I've
yeah,
pretty much had every tangible thing that I could have. And, so it just led me inward to myself.
yeah, yeah. So take us on a journey. I know when we spoke, kind of go back to, when you talk about helping people, at what point did you decide that this is the journey that I want to go? And what inspires you to want to help other people?
Well, at a young age, I wanted to do this. I wanted to help people. I'm 17 years old and my dreams was to build homeless shelters and help people. And at 18 I'm in college and I joined the Big Brother program, and I have a little brother that I take with me everywhere around the college campus. So I've always been
Yeah,
intrigued with this idea of personal growth and just being able to live our actual lives. I think
yeah,
that not having leaders in front of me to teach me what life is really all about, and not
Right.
being too young to look at nature, because now as an older man, I can look at nature and figure it out. I can say, okay, this is unnatural, this is natural. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier to figure a lot more things out because I've went through trial and error. But from a
Hmm.
small age, I loved people, and I wanted to be the best that I could be. I think what stopped me was it was a lot easier to make money. And
Haha.
as a young man coming out of poverty, that was that was stressed by my parents.
Yeah.
Money, money, money. Everything is, we don't have money. That's the answer. So I think what happened was I took a long pause to do that. I got really good
Right.
at making money, but not at being fulfilled. And so it
Yeah.
just it's gonna stare at you. You're gonna be like, okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
how many more cars do I need to buy for this thing to be what they told me it is? How many more houses I need? How many more
Right.
shoes do I need? And a lot of people are just not honest with themselves. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
lucky, if you're lucky, two honest people. If you're lucky.
Right.
And that's
Right.
all of
Right.
us.
Right.
That's anybody that can hear
Yes.
my voice. You know,
Yeah.
um, you what you know is people that wear masks, and so the fact that we're not honest, we can never get anywhere we really want to go.
Right.
I give the
Yes.
example often of if you're trying to get to New York and you put in a GPS California, I guarantee you ain't getting to New York. And that's
Right.
exactly what a lie does. It leads to another lie, to another lie. And it was a matter of me having to break myself of that and live my truth.
Yeah, yeah. That's so interesting when you talk about that circle of getting to nowhere. And that's a good example. You want to go to New York, but you're going to California. You're like just lie after lie after lie, and it takes you forever to get where you want to be because you're just not honest with yourself. Like you said, being transparent. So when you mentor people and you speak to people, and you
Hmm.
can see that this person is struggling to just find the honesty in themselves because they're wearing a mask or they're running from something.
Hmm.
What avenue, what strategy? I mean, how do you get through to a person like that?
Well, that's the fun part. That's the part that I really enjoy because
Yeah.
especially when you take I deal with very, very successful men, and they're hiding behind this shield of success. This is why we acquire. This is why men acquire things. They
Right.
acquire things to hide because
Hmm.
essentially, didn't you see what I pulled up in? What you asking me questions for? That's basically what they
Right.
want, right?
Right.
Because the little boy inside is is terrified. So we go and we acquire all these things to put them in place so no one asks us
Yeah.
no questions, because we don't want none of
Right.
this smoke. Um, and
Yes.
so what I do is, you know, I'm the asshole that's asking the questions that everyone is afraid to ask them because of their
Right.
level of success. Okay, that's good. You
Yeah.
run a $300 million company, but I don't really care. I'm not here for that. I'm here to talk
Hmm.
about little Tommy, and you're not trying to talk about little Tommy. And
For
I'm not
sure.
moved by anything that you have. I just see the
Yeah.
little boy shaking, and I'm trying to give you a coat,
Hmm.
you know, because you're
Yeah.
shivering.
Yeah.
And so I think that honesty, again, on every level is what I find. And you know what it links back to? A lot of it links back to how they were treated as children.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's what they're
Yes.
masking, because maybe dad wasn't there, or I'm not going to that game, boy, or they weren't seen. And so they think
Yeah.
that this success will now mean that they're never going to be rejected again. But
Hmm.
internally
Right.
they know better.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
That's something because so many people think that being successful makes you untouchable,
hmm
right? And then it's so sad to see so many young girls and young boys that believe that, like you said, I have to attain all of what these celebrities that I see, the houses, the cars, the girls, whatever it is, the lifestyle, the parties, and
Hmm.
they think that this is where life lies, and
Yes.
so many of them fall by the wayside. And the crazy thing is, they see a lot of these celebrities go downhill, but it still isn't registering to them that they have all of this and they still don't have the happiness.
Yes.
So it's pretty interesting when you talk about with people that have these big companies, and they feel like they have it all, but they don't even know, like, there is a little boy or a little girl inside that is running from something, like you said,
Yeah.
wearing that mask and they're running. So I think I was listening to a sermon or something, and I heard the guy said marriage is the devil's playground for trauma and insecurities, and I hear him. But I also look at it like adulthood. If you're not honest and you're not transparent with yourself to begin with,
Hmm.
it can very much be the playground for trauma and insecurity, and a cycle of just stopping right here and not even knowing that you have not arrived. Like
Hmm.
fear of becoming, because we are always becoming. We don't just come and stop.
Hmm.
And like you said, which is how people attain stuff. They keep wanting more and more and more because it's not fulfilling. It's not
Mm-mm.
fulfilling. So when you work with these multimillionaire people and then it clicks, is there a breakdown? Is there a now let me ask you questions? How did they go about navigating now moving forward and realizing I have all of this, but inside of here I'm so lost and I'm so stolen? How do you navigate waters with those kinds of people that want to be honest and transparent and let you in?
Well, they don't have a choice because
Ah, I love that.
because presence makes the man. And I think that when you're locked in a room with a lion, you know what it is. There's no
Hmm.
running, there's no hiding. And I think that this is what I do for a living, and this is just something that I'm purposed to and blessed to be able to do. And I think when I'm talking to these people, there's also a human and a compassion. So there's no
Right,
judgment because I've been there. I've been there where the
right.
little boy was locked up and he was
Yeah.
fighting to, be freed, and I didn't understand how to. And I think that going through all of those different emotions and different things in life help allow me to help other people. And you know how to pivot, you know when to
Yes.
stop, you know when to put pressure on them. At the end goal for me is a better society. What's
Hmm.
happening is these people are some of our leaders that the general public are looking up to,
Right.
and they have so many holes. So
Hmm.
if we could patch that, and we could make people more whole, then
Yeah.
more truth could come out. Because I think that
Right.
as a young kid, I attribute it to this. I remember, you know, I was previously married, and my stepson was playing, and we lived in the suburbs. And I remember I thought to myself, my parents would have killed to be on this side of the field. And I'm looking
Hmm.
on the other side of the field with the quote unquote hood kids. And I'm over
Yeah.
here with all these parents, and I'm like, they don't have shit. Little do they
Right.
know, they don't have
Right.
shit. This is all an act. I
Yeah.
knew that at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is years and years
Yeah.
ago. And I remember telling my stepson this. Like, it's funny how my parents would have been over there with corned beef and hash thinking, oh, it's better
Mm-hmm.
on that side. And it's not. It's just a lot of
Right.
makeup on this side. And I remember
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
that out loud. And so I exist so that I could show up for the little boys authentically or the little girls authentically and make
Yeah.
them to understand what real success is. And I could do that through mentoring younger kids with my Forever Becoming
Mm-hmm.
Youth organization, or I could do that in mentoring, high net worth individuals. Either way, we're hitting both.
Right. 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 Well, that's good. Well, I commend you and I applaud you for that, because it's like you said, it is hard to we spoke about this, the truth of what it truly means to be rich. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you're on the other side, the ghetto kids looking like they have it all, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
even understand the substance of richness is not things.
No.
It is that always striving to become, always striving to find wholeness. That's when you're rich. And you're never gonna have it all. You're never gonna be perfect. But constantly working to become a better you is where the quality lies, is where you find the richness of your life. So I commend you
Mm-hmm.
for being that person and say, look, I've been on this side. I'm still trotting on this side, but what you see is not always what you get.
Mm-mm. No,
you know?
people need the truth. I mean, these children following all these people, they need to know that it's about them finding themselves, and it's not
Mhm.
a community project. There's no
Right,
one line or straight line to success. That's bullshit. Like,
right. Yeah.
it's, are you good with yourself? Like, because
Yeah.
I could
Yeah,
tell you right
absolutely.
now, I can't name five. I've been around millions of people, damn near. I can't name five men that are good with themselves in the dark.
Wow.
I mean, that number is a lot lower than five, but I just
Yeah.
threw out that number.
Hmm.
Yeah, like if I was to put my life on it and say these humans are extremely good with themselves, I don't know five. Shit, I don't know three,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that's
Wow.
that's scary. I could name you. We could give you a list of what thousands of millionaires if we want to, but I can't name people who are
Yeah.
truly at peace with themselves, can describe who they are without what they do or what they have or what they're worth.
Hmm.
Where is it?
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's the truth. And that's the truth. I'm gonna put this comment up here just so you can see it too when I put it, day by day, transparency builds true relationships,
Mm,
right? You
absolutely.
got to be able to take that mask off and let them see. Oh, I like this one too. People have to
Mhm.
be able to be okay with their own silence. Woo!
Yes, I love that.
That is so scary for so many people.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah, yeah. That silence is something. I remember when I was doing getting my certification to be a life coach, and we would do these huddles because we were all from different places, and we
Uh-huh.
were going with each other. And I remember sitting with this girl, and I just asked her one or two questions, piggybacking on what she said,
Hmm.
and I sat there, and in the silence, she just started to cry.
Mm.
And she's like, "Why are you doing this? Say something."
Hmm.
And I said, "There's a lot more that you have to say. By the tears, there's a lot that you have to say."
Mm.
And I think we probably had about 15 minutes with each other. And I think those were the only two questions I asked. And we just sat, and she just talked and spoke and spoke and spoke and cried. But there was so much that she had to let out. But she didn't like me being silent to wait for her to come out and find herself. Because if I'm asking the questions or I'm trying to get you to open up, then it's
Hmm.
easier for you. Then you can kind of manipulate what you want to ask me. But when I let you
Hmm.
sit in your silence for you to keep going on, she did not like it at all.
Mm.
And there are so many people that are not okay with their silence. And I always tell people this, as a life coach, I'm like, you got to be okay with just sitting still and sitting with yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, you have to.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, what else? What would you have to offer to anyone else if you don't have it to offer to yourself?
Mm,
You know, I
yeah. I
mean,
love
how
that.
are how are you? And I'll make it plain for other folks. Like, how are you out there lending money and you don't got none? It's the same way. It's the same way with peace. It's the same way with love.
Hmm.
It's the same way with compassion. It's the same with everything. Like,
Yeah.
I, I think sometimes we count the wrong accounts because I think how people feel when they're in our presence, when we leave this earth, stays, and they talk about
Hmm.
that. They talk about if
Yeah.
they felt empowered, if they felt in fear, if they felt violated, and
Hmm.
I think that's so important. Everybody wants to leave a 401k. Guess what? They're gonna
Yeah.
spend it. Ain't nobody talking about that.
Right. Right.
Just
They're gonna
that's all they
spend it
gonna do.
way faster than those memories are gonna last. They're gonna spend that and be like, where's the money that you left for me? And
Yeah,
it's gone,
they're gonna forget
you
who
know.
left it. I know I ran
Oh.
through it, but I don't know who left it.
Right. Say that. I didn't have to share it unless I wanted to, you know? Yes, yes. And that is so true. That is one of the biggest things. Like, when I taught kids, like I said, we both come from a background of education, both working with
Yes.
students with emotional, disabilities. And
Hmm.
one of the hardest things, and we keep talking about silence, is when they get so agitated and angry, and I just stop. And so I could, just keep counting on my fingers where they're like, why are
Hmm.
you not talking to me? Why are you not
Hmm.
talking to me? Because if I'm giving you the feedback, I'm giving you that input that you want, and you don't have to face that emotion that's
Hmm.
making you so angry, or the thought of why you're angry, because you can't even figure out why you're angry. So you
Exactly.
need me to be the board that you're gonna bounce off of. And I tell adults, it's not these kids. These kids just can't control their emotions, but
Hmm.
adults do it all the time, like you said, in the way that they spend money, in the things that they want to acquire. It's
Hmm.
just like you're bouncing it off in a different kind of way. You're spazzing out and out of control in a different kind of way. It may not be emotional, but you're out of control financially. You're out of
Hmm.
control socially. You're out of control physically. Like, there's so many ways that you are out of control because you're just so afraid to find out who you are. So I need people. I need people. I need people. I want to sit with people all the time.
Hmm.
You know.
And
Yeah.
another thing, money. I just thought about this while you were saying that. Money, and people have different thoughts of this, but like you could say that it's not really that real. And I'm gonna say this: it could be unjustly made, so, meaning I could steal
Hmm.
it, I could rob someone. I don't have to be that ethical. But I tell you one thing:
Right.
you can't fake love, you can't
Love.
fake presence, you can't fake
Hmm.
compassion, you can't fake being a great human being. I could, I could, I could go out here create something that kills people, that makes money, and give the money away to everybody. I could do that. It's inauthentic.
Right.
It's not
Right.
attached to me at all.
Yeah.
But your being
Right.
and your essence of who you are as a human, and the stench that you emit, that's
Mm.
that's authentic. That has to it's authentic or inauthentic, but we readily know. You can't fake it.
Right.
You can't keep
Yeah.
that shit up. But
Yeah.
I could start a scholarship for little boys or little girls and just give away every year and say I'm doing something. But and that's the difference that I see as a human.
Hmm. Yeah. I just love that you use that word stench. I just love it because you said it and it kind of just hit me like bam.
Hmm.
I love that you said that because it is what you leave. They always say it's not what you say to someone, it's how you make them feel when you say what you said. So that's powerful when you use it in that way. I'm gonna put this question up here by T. Lee. She's in the house. She's going to get engaged in this conversation with you. So
Okay.
if you can see it, it says that Hugo, what's your definition of being okay and healthy? And to reference
Mhm.
your statement that you can't list 3 to 5 men that are truly okay. And I'll leave it up. You can see it, right?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll leave it up. I'll leave it up a second.
I would love to answer that. So I'll say this. My definition of being okay with yourself would be, I think about like our character and integrity is being one, being whole. And I guess a great example of that is you take someone like let's say someone like 50 cents, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to get rich or die trying. He got successful, got fame. Now he spends most of his time trolling people. If you're
Mm-hmm.
centered and okay with yourself, you're not, as a man, you're not trolling anyone. I can imagine
Right.
living like that, like actually looking for people's demise and promoting it and doing things like that. People who are okay with themselves are at peace, and you just readily can tell. They're not doing
Yeah.
anything outside of the harmony of their soul. They're not doing anything for likes, clickbait. They're not, they're just sturdy human beings. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of in a nutshell what I look at. And I could tell by people's movements if they're okay, by their energy if they're
Mm-hmm.
okay. Um, you know, and I'll give myself as an example. Back in the day, I had
Right.
30 plus cars, tons of stuff. I just kept buying. I was not okay. I'm trying to fulfill a void that's not
Mm-hmm.
fulfillable by things. It requires me
Right.
to sit down and deal with some hard things and some hard realities instead of
Mm-hmm.
escaping. So I think
Yeah.
what success and money does to a lot of us, and me included at one point, we get to mask things. We get
Mm-hmm.
to we get to throw it in people's face and like we're good. But people who are good with themselves are not doing that. Why would I want to
Yeah.
do that? I'm here to help you, if
Yeah.
anything. I'm not here to
Right.
compare. And that's another thing too. Why would you compare yourself to someone if you're
Yeah.
truly at peace with who you are? What would that
Mm-hmm.
matter?
Yeah. 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 And
You
that's
know?
true because I always know that they say when you're good with yourself and you're true, I can see you and I can embrace your success and be happy for you. I'm not
Hmm.
figuring out how you got it, how I'm gonna get it, how do I chop you down for me to get where you are.
Hmm.
You have just a genuine happiness for someone that's doing well. And it doesn't even mean that they have it all. Like you said,
Yeah.
you can feel the energy. You just
Oh
see
yeah.
people and be like, yes, they're doing good. They're doing good. And it doesn't mean that they have everything. They're just happy with who they are. So
And to
Tita Lee
reference
said, thanks for answering.
the
I mean,
statement of 3 to 5 men, this is how I look at it. What makes men? I have a different philosophy of what makes men. I think it's presence and their unbound spirit. I think those are two things
hmm,
that are pivotal to men. When I meet men, they tell me their jobs, their titles, they tell me what they own, they tell me where they're going, and little do they know, I could feel everything I need to know. I don't think my son is. I don't think he really cares about what I own.
right.
He thinks
Yeah.
wealth is time. He thinks wealth is daddy said he loved me. He thinks wealth is daddy showed up to my game. Daddy corrected me. Like, and that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing that I say about when I say men, right? They want to be everything to everybody else. Well, I'm the king of my house first. The world gets the leftovers. We getting
Right.
everything. We getting everything inside. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to mentor your son and my son starving. It's
Right.
unnatural. It's very
Yeah.
unnatural. But men will leave the house. They'll be there with their wife, skip over her, be nice to that woman out there, be nice to that
Mm-hmm.
kid out there, and be the hero of everybody else's world. No, 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 no. It's inside out. And that's what I mean.
Right.
Another example of okay. You look at someone's children and you could tell the difference. But then you see them out here signing autographs with everybody else. Where are your kids at? Like,
Right.
that's odd.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And I love, like you said, I'm glad you jumped on this because when we were having this conversation, this is one of the things that just strike me so hard about you is how much you are just passionate about making sure that you are giving yourself to your children. I mean, I told my sister I could have just sat and talked to you for hours on that topic because, because it's so rare. A lot of men are like, I love my kids. I have
Hmm.
to feed my kids, clothe my kids, this, right? The moolah I'm giving my kids. But it's so hard, I think, and I'm coming from a totally, this is just opinions, for so
Hmm.
many men to understand how much quality they bring to the children's life and the richness of just being present,
Hmm.
just sitting. Like I can just speak to the fact that I have brothers and I watch the way that they are with their children. And
Hmm.
the children just love it. It's not
Hmm.
about, are we going here? Are we going there? Are you going to buy me this? They genuinely like being in the presence of their father. So I
Yeah.
always say I just applaud my brothers for the way that they are with their children. They just You can't just look and say, "Oh, he loves his kids." No, I could feel that he loves his kids, and then the kids can also feel that the parents love them. So
Mhm.
I just love when you got on this topic. I could just feel your passion for what it meant to be a present father. So speak a little bit more to that for me.
Being a present father, I
Yes.
think that I think you got to be in tune with yourself, and
Mhm.
it's important. I mean, that's my most valuable asset. I mean,
Yeah.
is my time and my presence, and again, an unbound spirit, because how your spirit is dictates how the people around you are affected. You be around people, you're like, man, I left drained. I don't want to go back. You know what I mean? Versus someone that
Yeah.
just lifts you up. And again, these are things that you can't buy, you can't fake. It's gonna
Hmm.
show up. It has to show up in your
Yeah.
life, and so I think that being a present man really goes back to a lot of work. I had to I
Yeah.
had to I had to go through a lot of trauma and get over myself a lot to become the human that I am today.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you what do you say to men that are let me put this in the right way. Men that want to change. They understand that in the past I have just not been that person that I need to be.
Yeah.
How do you how what just a wealth of advice, like what is the beginning stages that you've noticed that I am now in tune with me, or at least I have some transparency? How do I move forward as a man?
First of all, you got to have truth. If you don't have truth, it
Hmm.
just doesn't matter. It does not matter,
Yeah.
because you can't fudge in one part or the other. I tried it. I've done it all. So, and no one is more serial than I am. I was bad. So, you know, uh, so you gotta want to live your truth, and you gotta understand that the environment matters. So you're gonna have to get rid of
Hmm.
some of these people that you're around that don't make sense. If you're looking at them and you ain't trying to go the same place as them, get rid of them. Tell them, hey, I
Yeah.
think you're great, but brother, I'm trying to get here, and I
Right.
can't do it. You know,
Right.
people think, and if you don't believe me, try to grow grass in Alaska. Take your little grass seeds, take them to Alaska, and plant them, and see what happens. Nothing, because the environment is just not there. There's no light, there's no nutrients, there's nothing. So your environment got to be right, and your seed got to be right, which
Yeah.
is you. And it starts with your integrity, your character, and your truth.
Yeah. That's awesome. Integrity, character, and truth.
Yeah.
Gotta have those. And
Hmm.
just as a sorry, I'm looking at a comment that's coming through. I'm gonna post it up here, but just
Uh-huh.
as a human being, integrity, character, and truth, you gotta have it because it'll carry you on your job, in your life. Like you said with your kids, like it. Those three things that you mentioned are part of just the foundation for being
Hmm.
a good human being,
Hmm.
because those are the things that also bring respect to yourself. And
Hmm.
if you're going to
Absolutely.
have that much respect for yourself, like you said, I can't have respect for myself and then decide that I'm going to disrespect you every time I see you.
Mm-mm. No,
It's not going to feel good.
it's
And like
not.
you said, it's an unnatural thing to be. I am just an honest and a good person, but once I walk out of the doors of my house, I just turn into this beast.
No,
Like that's madness, and I'm
it's
not going to sleep
fake.
well at night. I know that for a fact. I'm not going to sleep well. So I'm going to let you answer this question from T. Delise. Was there a specific event that opened your eyes to make the intentional shift from obtaining the shiny things to real wealth?
Absolutely. I think that going through a divorce did it. The birth of my child, my first son, did that, and I did not feel good. And I'm not. I
Hmm.
don't like lying to myself. So like I was like, I don't really. I'm not feeling this. This ain't it. And I knew that earlier, like years earlier. I had wrote in my journal, but I wasn't ready to move forward. But yeah, so it was a combination of a lot of those things, and just experiencing, just realizing that you're wasting your time. Like it's only a short amount of
Yeah.
time. What are we doing? And as a man,
Hmm.
I have to be the source for my family. So like, how are you going to be the source and you not tapped in, and
Right.
so all of those things gave me great accountability. And then and another thing, I'm D Maynard, so like, who else is gonna do it if I don't? And this is the end of our
Right.
lineage. Like, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
woke me up a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good. Thank you for that.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this.
Hmm.
How do you, because you're pouring out, you're pouring out, you're pouring out, you're pouring out.
Hmm.
How do you pour back into yourself and keep yourself grounded, keep yourself feeling, whole enough to go from event to event, mentor to mentor? And then after you answer that, I don't want to forget because I want you to talk about the books that you've written too. But how do
Hmm.
you pour into Hugo? How do you keep yourself, feeling grounded?
Well, I stay tapped into God. I definitely do.
Hmm.
And I stay in nature. I
Yeah.
travel a lot. I'm in nature every day for at least 3, 4 hours a day. And I have a mantra that I go by, and I say it in my speech. The mornings are for us, the world gets the leftovers. So,
Hmm.
you know, I have a great morning routine that's very, very important. And I do it without
Yeah.
failing every single day, and I also think, Sandy, that I was born for this, you know,
Yes.
and because I've been like, what I'm doing now. I wrote in my journal I wanted to do when I was 20.
Wow.
Like, so
Wow. Manifest that. I love it.
I just didn't have the courage to, because it's a lot different. I own car lots. I could make millions selling
Yeah.
cars. I could take a product and do anything, but
Mm-hmm.
to be yourself, what? Y'all want me to
Yeah.
be myself?
Yeah.
Come on, like, I'm trying to hide. Like, so
Right.
I think that, you know, a song that stuck with me. You remember that song, This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let it shine?
Yes.
I
Yes.
swear that plays throughout my head throughout my whole life. I remember as a little
Wow.
boy, I heard that song, and I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like I was hiding this little light. And it
Yeah.
just comes to a point where I think you have a conversation with God, and it's like, hey, you can't play with time. You don't know how much you got. And then you
Right.
start looking at your kids, and listen, I saw something the other day. This guy's like, oh, I'm teaching my kids the stock market. I thought it was ridiculous. I'm like, anybody could teach my son the stock market, but can you teach
Mm-hmm.
him
Mm-hmm.
me? Because I haven't
Right.
I haven't seen another one. But there's a
Right.
million dudes that could teach my son the stock market. And then
Yeah.
I wrote a thing on the I said, hey, so let's say he hits it big in the stock market, then what? And then I said, and then what if he fails? Then what? No one wants to answer
Right.
that. Where the hell is your
Right.
son at?
Right.
So then your son
Yeah.
got my son taking all of his shit now because he know who he
Mm-hmm.
is. So we gonna let you
Mm-hmm.
teach that, and I'm gonna teach my son to be centered and be who he is. And your son gonna have to
Right.
go find this guy because he's gonna be crashing out.
Wow. That's so important, man. Teaching children how to be centered. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
That's just
Your
valuable
son
because
winning he winning he making all this money, but he don't even know that he loved. Like,
yeah.
have you spent the
Yeah.
time to let him understand that, or understand where he came from, his roots, or like that's important. The other stuff, anybody could
Right.
teach that stuff, man.
Right, right. Yeah, I love that. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Because you can sing that song. Really, what it says is let it shine everywhere, But that's what's important, man. And I know it's a blessing for your kids to just have you because you're like, look, I feel grounded. I'm gonna make sure that you show up as the best human being in the world at whatever you decide to do. But you're going to first have, a grounding knowledge of who you are. And that's
Hmm.
gonna help you show up wherever you need to be. So Trisha D put a Bible verse up here, Matthew 5:16. The same way let your light shine before others, that they may
Hmm.
see your good deeds and glorify your fathers in heaven. Amen, amen, and
Amen.
amen. Yes, I love it. So
Hmm.
talk to us. Tell me a little bit before we get to that time we're gonna get out of here. Like I said, I'm
Hmm.
looking at the time and I could talk to you forever because you're just so real. You know what I'm saying? It's just the realness of what it is that makes you want to sit there and talk to you. But Talk to us about being an author.
It was a dream of mine for a very, very long time. And, I love writing books. I played Olympic basketball. I was a really good basketball player. And I tell people all the time, ain't no way in hell. If I had a daddy and I had a good identity, I would never play no ball. Because I wasn't
Right.
interested. But at the
Right.
time, that was just something to do to get me out of where I
Yeah.
was. But I've been journaling since I was 10. So with my children, I
Mhm.
created The Adventures of Mullen and Marley, which is sold everywhere now, basically. And, basically they've been to like 30, 40 countries. They're 5 and 4 years old.
Wow.
And so I just
Wow.
write about these brown kids and their experiences all throughout the world. I only got three, I think 3 episodes out right now, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue to write. I have so many to just and it's based on character, integrity, justice, just virtues and principles that I would want them to have, but I want them to reflect. So like my son's first book was I spent all day looking at the sky, and it was about him dreaming about this monster truck and just having his dreams. And I wanted his complexion to be reflected in that way, thoughtfully,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
instead
That's
of teaching
beautiful.
him the stock market. I'm gonna show him in a
Right.
mirror what he could
Right.
do, which is anything.
Yeah.
He could have
Yes.
his own stock
Right.
market if that's what you want to do. I don't suggest
Yeah.
it, but you know
And he's gonna dream, and he's gonna dream big. But
yeah.
like you said, you wrote that you wanted to do what you're doing, and you've been
Hmm.
journaling, and he has something he could look back on. And but I feel like when you teach your kids about being so grounded and allow them
Hmm.
to journal and write these books, they're
Hmm.
also already developing that there's a direction that I can go in. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And giving them a
Hmm.
sense of direction. I don't just have to do this, just be
Mm-mm.
a child and just do this. I can be somebody even at a very young age. So
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And then lastly, let's talk about your podcast. Tell
So
us about that podcast because I love it.
the podcast is shit my daddy didn't teach me. And so
Mm-hmm.
with that, you know, going through trial and error and not having my dad teach me a lot of things. He's still alive. He's 83 years old,
Right.
but he's West Indian. So if you know West Indians, you know what I'm talking about in the tone that I'm
Yeah.
saying it. So
Yeah.
but he didn't, in his fairness, he didn't have a great father either. But what I wanted to do was, you know, I wanted to bridge the gap between, I know that that's a big problem for us men and females, with identity and a lot of problems that we face. And
Yeah.
I just wanted the kids that didn't have that for whatever reason, whether mom held her back or dad held them back or they died, that
Yeah.
it's not your fault, you know, and we
Right.
still got to get there. We still got to get through
Yeah.
this thing, and because a lot of people, they stay in this spot of resentment for not
Mm-hmm.
having and stuff like that. So it's just more informational, more guidance, more awareness, and just love. I
Yeah.
do everything that I'm
Yeah.
doing is from love. So
Right.
we're not going to put fathers out there in a bad light because it's over. Guess what? I'm here. I ain't had one. What you want me to do? Can you help me?
Right.
I need help,
Right.
son. I mean, sir,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how I was as a kid. I
Yeah.
don't need to keep talking about him. Like, I'm here
Right.
now.
Right.
What can I do? And so that's kind of
Yeah.
what I'm offering as we take this journey together and we bridge
Yeah.
the gap and make a better society.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
I've been tracking I think that over the last, from one particular attorney, the last 1,500 cases,
Hmm.
zero fathers, zero.
Wow.
For the last two
Wow.
years, there hasn't been any kid that was male or female in trouble
Mm-hmm.
and facing
Mm-hmm.
jail time. Over a
Yeah.
thousand,
Yeah.
zero of them had a father involved.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And
I'm a
then you
serious
come and
stat.
then you see a guy like you. Yeah. Yeah. But it's sad. And then we have, men like you that are there and say you can break the cycle. You
Yeah.
know, it's like when you watch a Lion King and the little monkey Rafiki, he's like, leave the past in the past. You
Yeah.
know, like yes, you can remember it, you can let it shape you to be a better person, or you
Hmm.
can stay stuck in it and not
Yeah.
move forward. You know, so
Absolutely.
yes, yeah, you got to be able to leave the past in the past. And this is funny. This chick said West Indians holding it down. St. Croix and St. Lucia in the building. And Hugo is from St. Thomas. So
And
we
St.
got
Kitts, I
St.
gotta shout
Croix
out
and
St. Kitts too.
hey, boop, 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 St. Kitts in the building. I love it. I love it. So as we wrap this up, I'm gonna throw out about maybe 3 words. And as I give you the words, I want you to just close it out. Just your thoughts, whatever come to
Okay.
your mind about it.
Okay.
He said, "Oh God, it's not gonna be that hard because you have all the answers.
Oh
All
God.
right, you have all the answers. You ready?
Uh-huh.
Wholeness.
That's the ideal. That's what we aspire to do, forever becoming.
Yeah, love that. Safety.
Safety is heavy, and I'm gonna tell you why it's
Mm.
heavy.
Mhm.
It's the root of problems because when we when we when we receive trauma or traumatic things, whether it's through, from childhood, it breaks the core of safety.
Mhm.
And that's what a lot of us are missing. We're adults out here, but we're the 10-year-old hurt child
Yeah.
because we never felt safe. And
Yeah.
all of these things that we're doing, the degrees, the jobs, you know, everything that we're doing is just to try to secure the boy or girl that's inside. So safety
Yeah.
is heavy on
Mhm.
me because I see it
Right.
a lot in
Yeah.
humans, the lack of it.
Hmm. Right. Right. Yes. Um. Mind shift.
That's what it takes. It takes a mind shift to get where we really want to be. And I think the mind shift of getting away from being afraid, because you only have one shot at this, and
Yeah.
no one is really looking at us like we think they are. I think people think, oh, there's so many. No, you ain't got that many haters. You just creating that many in your head. And I
Mhm.
think we have to shift our mind and perspective and get out of the environments that we've been in so that we could see something
Yeah.
totally different. And
Yeah. Yeah.
traveling changed my mind and shifted my mind a lot from being able to see the whole world.
Mhm. Yeah. That's good. I like that. And here's the last one. Hugo.
I would say a smile,
Mm,
love.
I
That's what comes to
agree.
mind.
I agree. I agree. And a smile goes such a long way. Such a long way. I
Absolutely.
want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has
Thank
been an amazing conversation. It's been so honest and so real. And that's just, who you are. Like I've met you through the screen, but like
you.
I said, I could just feel, the energy of positivity that comes from you, and the people that you get to and have encounters with are so blessed, are so blessed. So it is my pleasure to have met you, to meet you. I know we're going to continue to just have conversations and stay in touch because you're such a positive person. And I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for
Thank you,
being
Dr.
here.
Sebi. It's been my
Yes.
pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time because if y'all can't tell, this is a busy man. This is a busy man. So he's not sitting here saying, just talking. Like this man said, when you're ready to meet me, I will meet you. Whatever the time, I'm in a different time zone. You tell me the time, I'll make it. And he's just
So
been so present and forthcoming and like, I'm here. So this is not an act that he's putting on. Like I've been a witness how he will just reach out and do what he says he's gonna do. So I've been able to be blessed with the fruits of his goodness. So I am thankful. I am thankful. But Thank you all for watching. Thank for everybody that's out there. If you didn't catch it and you're catching it at a later date, thank you for watching also. All right. So remember, as I always say, thank you to Hugo for being here. Your future is forward. My future is forward. And together, our future will move forward. God bless everybody and good night.